Morning.
Just for clarification, I am not Stephanie Campbell, but it's not changing the name on there. It looks like Stephanie. There she is. I see her over in the corner. She's not Jill. We're just messing with you today. It looks like we have our board members with us. I see Linda. Is Sheriff James with us?
I don't see the sheriff.
Troy's going to give him a call.
Okay. Why don't we give him a minute if that's okay with everybody? This will be a quick. Okay.
Hey.
Okay.
See a couple people in their green. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day.
I'm going to make a box.
I saw David pop up. Did somebody admit him? So he's admitted.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, guys. All right. Well, good morning. Having all us in here, I'd like to call the special meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Election to order. At this time, I'd ask each board member to please introduce himself. I'll start with myself, David Yates, Chair of the Board.
Linda Huber, Republican Representative of the Board.
Brandon Kinney, Democratic Representative on the board.
David James, Sheriff Jefferson County on the board.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here today. Our second item on the agenda is to accept the agenda. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the agenda is now accepted. There is no old business to discuss from the previous meeting, so we're going to move to the new business. And then the single item on the new business is the findings from ES&S testing of the E-Pollbooks. And we briefly discussed this at our last meeting, but I wanted to make sure that we had a representative from ES&S representative introduce himself here and explain about those findings, just so that it's transparent to the public and to this board. Do we have a member from ES&S?
Yes, that will be me today. I am Beth Lantry. I'm the Senior Vice President of Product Development at ES&S, and I would love to share those findings. If now is the right time, David, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. The floor is yours.
I will share my screen. Give me 1 second. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So myself, Kyle Grove is on the call as well. He's our Director of Development for our Pollbook product. And then also Andy Pruitt. He is our Director of Development Operations for ES&S. So the three of us joined Mark Hammergren, Guy Reiner, James Runlet in Jefferson County last Wednesday and Thursday. And so we're just going to kind of walk you through first an executive summary of how the mock election went, and then we'll get into a little bit about the test itself and then share the results with you. So for first and foremost, the executive summary. This is a little wordy, but Troy had asked for in writing kind of an email format that you guys could have to give confidence that we feel like we are going to be good to go in May. So I will read it to you just for formalities. As a result of the mock election held on March 11th, we ES&S are confident in Jefferson County's success this May, leveraging Express Poll 7280. For context, that is the version of software that is running on our Pollbook product. So 7280, if you hear that reference later, that's the version of software. As seen in today's test, even if all transactions aren't downloaded by the time polls open at 6 a.m., performance will not degrade on the Pollbooks while checking in voters. As a reminder, that was the issue that was seen in November of 24, that while it was downloading data, performance was degrading locally on the tablet. And we simulated that download as well as checking in across the county. We simulated that load, and we did not see any degradation in performance. Furthermore, ES&S expects Jefferson County to successfully download all transactions generated prior to Election Day within 1 hour of turning on and connecting poll books and cradle points under the following assumptions. And we gave a little bit of criteria just to make sure that you guys, that there's a little bit of boundary there. We have to have the cradle points have a certain download speed, having access to the internet, that type of thing, and that we don't connect too many poll books to one cradle point. So we went through all of that with the staff, and everybody was comfortable with those assumptions. To maximize.
So what's the difference between the mock and November 24? And why are we successful now? What's changed?
We upgraded the software.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
in November of 24, Jefferson was running 7262 as a software version. And I'll also kind of share with you what changed in that software in just 1 second, if that's okay. To maximize success in May, ideal conditions would be that they are turned on and connected prior to 5 a.m. for 6 a.m. polls opening. Let me get right into the test. So we ran the test at 3 locations. We couldn't get into all 3 actual polling locations, so we did have to simulate a couple of them. So the first column is the location we were attempting to simulate. The second column is the actual physical location where we did the mock election. And then you'll see the total number of poll books that were used during that test. And then the way it works is you associate a poll book to a precinct. So in the first case, we had 2 precincts set up, 5 on each. On the second, we had 2 precincts set up, 6 on each. And that's very common for how Jefferson configures their locations. You will notice that we did not use cradle points for the first 2 locations. We were experiencing cradle point issues, and the vendor came out and got us up and running for the 3rd location. So I don't know if we need to share any more on that from Richard or if Troy is here. But we were not able to use those for those first 2 locations. But we used a MiFi instead. And for context, a MiFi is much slower than a cradle point. So we still find the test to be very valid.
And if I may, Beth, just on that actually gave us a little more insight too. In the event there's an issue and there's not a cradle point, we had the backup, and we still were able to do it. That was obviously a different system that was in 2020 and 2024 upgraded system. My worry is I did not want to take a chance of testing a new system out during elections, so we decided to do early testing. And ES&S is willing to do that. They've been negotiating with me for about 5 or 6 months now, and so I appreciate all the back and forth. And addressing what we wanted to do is every issue that we had in previous elections, we wrote them out. We took all emails, we took everything, the back and forth, things that we failed to do on our end and the things that ES&S had failed to do on their end. And we did a way to do a problem solving assessment. And so I liked even on this test group that we had a problem with the cradle point, but we were still able to come out. So I thought that was an important thing to put out because we actually got it tested in an issue where we actually didn't have perfect scenario.
Love that. Thank you. Any questions on the locations? A little bit about the software improvements. This is the slide I was mentioning, Brandon. So in 7280, we did 3 main things to improve this user experience. So the first is when we get voter registration data from Jefferson, there are many, many duplicates. So when you get voters on the very first day and every subsequent day after that, they basically resend you. So the state is giving that data, right? So they are resending you that same change over and over every day. And so what it does is it really inflates your transactions. You saw me mention 200,000 transactions earlier. That transactions is what the poll book has to download on election morning. And so by inflating that number, it just takes it that much longer to download all of that. So what we did is we are scrubbing for duplicates when we convert your data. So when you give us your voter registration data and we are loading it in for the poll book to consume, we are actually removing those duplicates. And so this is cutting your transactions in half. which is a huge deal. So for example, in November of 2024, you had over 500,000 transactions. If we were to run that exact same data set through, you would have about 250,000 transactions on this version. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And that's one of some of the naysayer, the people, they attack the elections. They're saying, well, you have more people showing on there than could vote. A lot of times it's the duplicates. It was misinformation. And obviously that's caught whenever people vote, it removes off of it. But I like that we're eliminating the duplicate voter registration records up front.
Yep, we're just helping scrub that data a little bit. The second one is UI performance optimization. So in our user interface, so that is like the actual screens of the tablet itself, we had some inefficiencies in that UI. So for example, when you would click on something, it would kind of have this PowerPoint-ish transition where it would move the screen, which makes it slower. You had the ability to hit buttons multiple times. There were just multiple ways that we could make that experience a lot faster for the user. And so I don't know if we want to hear from any of those that participated in the mock election, but I think the experience at the tablet itself was much improved. I don't know, Richard, if you want to weigh in there, or Mary Ellen or Stephanie or anyone like that. They're nodding, so.
Yeah, and everybody was pleasant. I'm happy with what happened. Yep. I was expecting, because I wanted them to be hypercritical, I was expecting to be some issue, so please.
The last one, which is the most important one for Jefferson, is that we separated the download process from checking in voters. So behind the scenes on the tablet, when the tablet is busy downloading all those transactions, think of it as a separate worker that is busy downloading while you have a dedicated worker that allows you to check in voters. So that means you can be downloading at the same time as checking in without any impact to locally checking in voters. And that was really the biggest issue that you guys saw in November of 24. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the mock election, just to give you a little idea on size, first of all, what we did is we took the average primary election turnout over the last several years and we tripled it to make sure that we would more than cover the turnout that you guys would expect in May. And then what we did is for election day, we doubled your average hourly attendance, so turnout, to the polling locations, and we doubled it to account for peak times. At the same time, we leveraged automation to simulate people checking in across the entire county so that it would also be actively downloading data from the rest of the county throughout our test. And so we really tried to bombard this thing with as much data as we could in a load test scenario. Does that make sense? So we feel very confident that we more than covered the load you guys will expect to see in May. Okay, so the test steps that we went through is we started our simulated countywide load test. That's what I was talking about with automating that. And then we had a whole crew of us sitting around at all the different poll books, and we logged in. As soon as you log into the poll book, that's what starts the download process. So as soon as we logged in, it started downloading transactions. Right away, we started checking in voters. All of us had a sheet of a predetermined voter list, and we went down the list and checked in each 30 voters. At the end of checking in those 30 voters, we went into the poll book reporting and verified for accuracy to make sure that exactly those voters are who we checked in, no more, no less. And then we waited for the poll books to finish downloading all the transactions, and we captured that final download time, which brings us to the results. So at location 1 on 7280, we downloaded almost 172,000 transactions. And I'll just cut to the chase. They were all about the same number of transactions, approximately the same download pace, and that the local check-in performance was good. So no concerns. I would consider the test passed, and 45 minutes is much improved. So comparably, if we were doing November of 24, this would have taken hours to download.
So what does local check-in performance, like what does good mean? Like within parameters,
Yeah, we had
or is there a very good we're not hitting?
Yeah, understood, Brandon. I apologize. So we really didn't have a way to measure like the experience of checking someone in or time it. I suppose in hindsight, we could have timed how long it takes to check in one voter start to finish, but a few of us were racing. So I think that would have been a little bit skewed. But I would just say the UI was reacting as quickly as we could check as quickly as we were able to interact with it, it was reacting at that pace.
I can verify that we not only used a lesser quality Wi-Fi than what we're going to be using on election day and at a lower speed, and we had 0 issues.
We were absolutely checking in voters faster than any poll worker would be capable of, in my opinion. That is the end of our presentation. If you have any questions, I've also shared this content with Troy and the team. So if that needs to be shared in some way, please let me know.
I mean, this all seems it seems great. I mean, are there any kind of pain points that you foresee, or kind of any issues to watch out for, or if things go wrong, where are they going to go wrong, I guess?
Yeah, so a couple things. So 7280, that software version, has now been certified across our customer base and was widely used in November of 25 in very large jurisdictions. And so I would just say, first of all, this has been used in the field. We typically uncover any bugs or issues that we would see in that first use of a software version. The only known bug that we have right now is if you have a hidden network, the poll book cannot find it. So when you go to connect to a hidden network, you have to use a script to be able to connect to that hidden network. So that is the only bug we have found so far on 7280. So I feel confident that it's been used in the field. Oh, can you guys still hear me? Okay. I lost my screen for a second. I apologize. It's been used in the field successfully in large jurisdictions and absolutely no complaints. New Jersey is one of our largest customers, and they are very verbose if it does not go well, and they were thrilled with November of 25. And I think they had a pretty big election going on last year, so that it was a big deal for them. What else would I add for you? So no bugs that we know of, and it's been used in the field. I don't anticipate any issues. You are, in general, your primaries are quite a bit lighter anyway. So even under that circumstance, I see it being really well, going very well. One other thing that I'll add is we are going to be on site for your election. So first of all, Kyle and I are going to kind of tag team it if the team is still okay with that. Kyle will be there for all of early voting. I will show up on the last day of early voting and stay through election day. So I have access to everyone at ES&S that I could possibly call. Both of us are very experienced in the poll book, and we will be sitting with the team to live make recommendations to address anything that does pop up. Even if it's something with cradle points or something else, we can be of assist there.
And board and members, this was part of the ongoing negotiation back and forth. When I came in October 8th, there had already been a contract that was on the desk with another provider for over $4 million that was to provide mainly what it is that we want to make sure that the elections are run efficiently and accurately. There had been a previous, to me, a terrible debacle in the last election that was just horrendous. As a state senator at the time, I had numerous calls dealing with constituents, just absolutely a failure to the voters. As we go in, we looked at it and said, well, first thing I always do is what can my office do better to effectuate, in the future? And then what is the provider, which we had a contract with, what is it that would be demanded they could do better? We did I mean, I think there was several failures, but I looked at ES&S and met with them and said they care about their reputation. They're throughout the country, and I all felt that the taxpayers had already given them a significant amount of money. And so I didn't feel comfortable just walking away, having them being paid and not fulfilling that contract. They have been, I'll tell you, it started off extremely, I came in very defensive and aggressive. So was my team. There's been some new members and the CEO and has been in our office several times. We've gone through line by line. They have put the upgrade in place that we requested. I had a wish list from my election team. They sent over every problem and every email we've ever had back and forth, laid out everything that they want to have addressed and changed. And we sent it to ES&S and said, this is what we expect. And they did not counter. They came by and addressed every issue we've had. At this point, I wanted to do a test run. I didn't understand how we could have elections and we don't know how long it takes to download the absentee ballots or the early ballots at the same time you're voting. So we tried to do little runs during the special election to get an idea, but that's not a big enough model. So we came back in and did a second time with this upgraded information that's been presented to the Board of Elections and been okay. And we wanted to be critical. We didn't want to give optimal conditions. We wanted to make sure that it was just kind of randomly picked places, not the best vote, not the best Wi-Fi, not the best everything else. In fact, 2 of them had substandard Wi-Fi, and it's still, I put Troy over there and I said, I want you to be, I want you to be Troy and just come at him hard. And he did so because in the election team, and I was waiting for something to be critical about. That's what I was, because that's something I could address early on. And so we could have one more change to improve, not just to be in essence. So I feel nothing can ever be guaranteed for perfection. But the CEO did, as far as a contract can be, is let me know that if there is any mess up whatsoever, there will be they'll not hold us to any contract or future requirements. We'd be out to negotiate with whoever we want. I think sometimes when you put millions of dollars on the line by a company willing to say that, that shows a lot of confidence. My big part is the most important thing I have to do is make sure these elections are run efficiently, and that's the job of this board. Obviously we do the appeals and stuff, but we want to make sure that I think that is the benchmark, that is the cornerstone of our democracy. It has to be done. That's our number one obligation. And so I would not spare any expense if I thought there was any issue at all. And that's one of the reasons I keep pushing. But the other thing is I have to be a good steward of our taxpayers' dollars. And if we're talking about millions of dollars, that to get the exact same product or not product at all, the same result in this primary for money that we've already spent, I wanted to make sure that we gave the opportunity to cure and fix. And so I will tell ES&S, because I've withheld this praise until now. Thank you. I appreciate you guys doing what we've requested. I know that I've probably been a bear to deal with from the beginning, and I don't, it's sometimes it's my personality when I'm fighting for my team and for my people of Jefferson County. But I'm feeling a whole lot better about this election and with the upgrades. I know how much money you guys have spent into this. I appreciate you having someone on the ground in the leadership. The stories of having a 1-800 number and stuff like that, they just can't work. So I do want to say that. I wanted to open it up to any questions that anybody else may have.
I have a question. Ultimately, had we come to an agreement that if we used S&S, it was going to save $4 million, but then when we found the discrepancies and the issues, did all the money it took to improve their product, was that in-house to them, or did it add any to our final bill if we choose to sign a contract with them?
Yeah, so all their improvements that they've done on their own. We did not pay for those improvements or anything else. They're the continuation of the contract. It was they had the way it's been pieced out years ago when it was signed, and then there was I don't know, so many millions of dollars up front, and there was a 1.7, and it's been kind of the continuation of the contract. I came in October 8th, and you had to have 90 days notice on to end that contract. So we were already stuck on another 1.7, significant money. What I wanted to do is sit down and figure out how do we utilize the money that we've already paid to a provider. We had asked our taxpayers for another over $4 million. And what I was worried is we were going to be paying billions of dollars to receive different service, but same outcome. And honestly, my board had lost trust with the ES&S at that time. The election team had, and ES&S came to me and said, we got new people in charge. We purchased new information. We've put millions and millions of dollars into upgrading. Here's what we have to offer. And we're trying to make this right. And I'll be honest that we had threatened litigation and everything else onto it. And through lots of conversations and meetings with legal, we've come to a compromise without us writing any additional checks that was otherwise required into the contract and receiving everything that we were getting today.
So 2 more questions. Beth, earlier you had mentioned kind of the pain point being this hidden network issue. Richard, do we know internally how to run that script if we need to?
Brandon, that script is going to be ran when they do the upgrade.
Okay.
So as soon as they do the upgrade on the Pollbook, they will run a script, and then that will, and we'll double check to make sure that it's actually in there also.
Cool. Great.
Yeah,
That's good.
there should be no Pollbooks going out without that, without that being done.
Okay. And then the second question, the updated user interface and the updated software, I'm assuming that's integrated in the training that's ongoing right now for kind of our election personnel?
Mary Ellen, Allen, you're
I can
doing
answer
that.
that. Right. So we have the screens look the same for the election officers. We actually had our first election officer training last night. But we also are changing their start time to 5. We are going to track those clerks on our end and make sure the first thing they do. I mean, we always in training say our laws are a little confusing this way. There's some places that the judges have to do something, some places the clerks have to do something. We expect that they get there and the clerks open the E-Pollbooks and the judges open the tabulation equipment. I've talked to Guy, who's a former election official, about this. It doesn't always work that way. So, but we still cover it, which is we're getting them there at 5. We're reiterating that they need to, again, to turn on the cradle point, turn on that E-Pollbook first thing when they get there. We're going to track that starting at 5. We have somebody online that's on their central panel that we can, and we'll just start making phone calls. That's what we can do on our end. And, it's election officers and there's 3,000 of them, and, try as you might, it's hit or miss. What I like about this, from the user perspective, I think their experience is going to be a little faster because election officers do have that problem of just if they don't get a reaction from the E-Pollbook, they just keep hitting it, which slows everything down. And the fact that we've divided the checking in from the download in the morning, that even if some election officers are better than others with our new instructions, it shouldn't slow it down. So we have modified our training, but we're also not just relying on the election officers, because we're relying on this new upgrade to help us for those election officers that don't do as good a job as others.
Great. Yeah, I just don't want them to be completely surprised if it looks totally different from what they're used to.
No, the screens are all the same.
Yeah, okay,
yeah,
good.
Brandon.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add. The general visuals in 7280 are very comparable to what they're used to.
Okay, that's good.
It's just faster.
I went out in J-Town to speak to them. The first thing they said is, don't even bring this up because you don't want to confuse because it looks the same.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay. Any other questions from members from my team? Anything? And I do want to say, look, I've been telling ES&S how much I appreciate them. It's you guys, an election team, that you guys have been working behind the curtains and everything you've done. And so I really, my hat's off to you. Coming in this job in October, I had no idea of the blood, sweat, and tears that comes into that. I mean, and that is some truth. I mean, I knew the job. I didn't realize, my wife told me the other day, she said, I don't think you've been home before 9 o'clock since taking this at night, and I'm not alone. So I just really appreciate you guys very much for working through this. This was too important to take any chance of having a mess up. And so this is one of those things where I always look where I'm doing a mediation or whatnot, is kind of conflict resolution is how do we get to yes, how do we get there? And we found a way to get the result that we wanted, save the taxpayers the money, and make sure that we've gotten the request of each of this team. And there's no way I could have done that without each of you. And whether it's Michael or Mary Ellen or Richard or Stephanie, or just so many people on the team who are out there just who gave me their input. We had our no BS rule. And so I got some of that. So I really appreciate it, helped. And then ES&S, this could have been something that we had to fight out in court and do all that other stuff. And I appreciate your willingness to compromise and come to the table. So thank you.
Thank you for your patience with us. We are committed to it.
Okay. There's no need to go into any executive session at this time. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll accept that.
So moved.
All right, properly moved and seconded. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries, and this meeting will be adjourned. I appreciate you guys so much, and we're getting ready to we're doing a press conference.